Year 3 and welcome back to another week of writing. Today we are going to continue looking at features of persuasive text. Today we are going to be looking at alliteration, which I'm really excited about because that means we get to be really creative with the vocabulary that we start using. So before you start, there are no worksheets today, so all you need is a pen or pencil and a piece of paper. So make sure you have everything to hand and we'll get started right away. So your do now today is you are going to continue with your work on expanded noun phrases. So remember, this means using adjectives to describe a noun. So have a refresh for a minute to yourself about what you need for a noun phrase. So you need your determiner, you need your adjectives, and you need your nouns. So I have got a lovely picture here, a lovely woodland scene. And what I would like you to do is to brainstorm some expanded noun phrases that you can use to describe the picture. Now, if you want to challenge yourself, you can divide your noun phrases into different categories based on the 5 senses. So touch, smell, taste, hearing, and sight. Maybe you want to describe the beautiful lavender flowers that we have growing there. Maybe you want to talk about how you can hear the rustle of the leaves in the wind. Up to you. So take a moment now to pause the video, brainstorm some fantastic ideas, make sure you upload them to Seesaw if you are at home, and press play when you are ready to continue with your session. Okay, so looking forward to hearing all of your fantastic ideas for your do now. Today we are going to be learning how to use alliteration for engagement in a persuasive text. Alliteration we're going to look at in a second, but the word engagement means trying to get people involved. So we want to use alliteration to get people involved in a persuasive text. So by the end of this lesson, you will be hopefully able to explain what is meant by alliteration. We have covered this before when we did Bill's New Frock, so I'm hoping that lots of you will remember what that means. You're going to identify examples of alliteration. And then we're going to have a think about using alliteration to make a product seem appealing to an audience. So the first thing I want you to do is take a moment here to read these 2 sentences. They're both describing the picture, but I want you to see if you can spot any differences. So pause the video now, have a read, and press play when you are ready for me to reveal the answers. Okay, so hopefully you noticed that in the second sentence, there were lots of words that started with the same sound. A beautiful bunch of blooming buds all began with a B sound. And then we had with sweet scents of spring, which all had an S sound. And the reason I used that was to show you an example of alliteration. So alliteration happens when words start with the same sound, not just the same letter. And they are used repeatedly in a phrase or sentence to make it sound catchy and engaging and just to really stick in the head of the reader. For example, I've got a bit of a tongue twister here and I'm going to try and say it. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So have a go of saying that yourself and you will see how the P sound is repeated again and again. So now that we know what alliteration is, have a moment now to listen to me reading the sentences, and I want you to think about which letter is being repeated. So first off, Betty and Bob brought back blue balloons from the big bazaar. So what sound was being repeated there? 4 furious friends fought for the phone. Which sound was being repeated there? And then lastly, Sam's shop stocks short spotted socks. One I really want you to have a look at now is the second one. 4 furious friends fought for the phone. Now, hopefully you spotted that it was the F sound being repeated, but I wonder if you noticed the F sound in phone. What's different to that in that word, to the others? Have a moment now and say it out loud to yourself. Press pause if you need. Hopefully you spotted that although the word phone has the same sound, it's spelt differently. It has a PH phoneme. So don't worry if you have spotted that and thought, oh, that doesn't fit. As long as it has the same sound, it doesn't necessarily matter. The spelling doesn't necessarily matter. Okay, so I've got another little description for you here of a butterfly. I want you to listen to me read both sentences and think about which gives more description and why. First, the butterfly flew past. Secondly, the butterfly brushed briefly against the beautiful bush. So hopefully you noticed that the second sentence had more description and also used alliteration with the book sound, which I've underlined there. So we are going to use alliteration now to have a think about how we can describe certain objects. So my steps to success, which I'll have on the other slides as well. 1, what is happening in the picture? 2, are there any words or synonyms, which are words that mean the same thing, that you can use for the sentence to make the sounds of the word sound alike? Then I'm going to draft, so I'm going to make a rough sort of note of my sentence, and then I'm going to edit it to see whether I can fit in any alliteration where I missed it before. So I'm going to demonstrate a couple of examples to you, and then you're going to have a go. So my first step is what is happening in this picture. So I had a thought previously, and you can see I've added some vocabulary there because I thought of some words and synonyms for making the sentence sound alike. So I saw that there was a dog, he's running or he's jumping, he's looking pretty happy, but none of those words I've just said really sound alike. So I kept dog, and instead of saying run, I came up with dash because they both begin with the d sound. I then had a look at the size of the dog and what he looked like, and I thought that he was quite small, quite petite. So I looked at my thesaurus. I had to think about other words that might also mean small, but I could use alliteration, and I came up with dinky. Dinky means really cute and small. And then I thought about the expression on the dog's face, and he looked really happy, but happy doesn't begin with d, so I thought delightful would be a nice word to use instead. So I had a look at the picture of what was happening. That was my first step. My second step was to look for words and synonyms that sounded alike so I could write my sentence. So I'm going to draft my sentence now. The delightful dog dashed. How did he dash? I think this is going to be a really bold, brave dog. I'm going to go for daringly. Daringly across the field. Delightful dog dashed daringly across the field. Now you can see that I've repeated the d sound quite a few times. Don't worry that I ended with the field. That doesn't matter that that doesn't begin with the d sound because I've used it quite a lot in my previous words. Okay, if you want to have a moment to try and think of your own for that picture, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, continue watching for my second example. Okay, so again, my first step was to have a look at what was happening in the picture. So I can see somebody on a horse and they are riding their horse. Pretty simple. But none of those words really sound similar. They don't use alliteration. They don't start with the same sound. So I tried to think of words and synonyms that could make the sentence sound alike. So instead of saying person, I said girl, which gave me the g sound. And instead of saying riding, I said gallop, because that is a word used to describe the way a horse moves. And then I thought, how might she be feeling when she's riding her horse? And I thought of the word glee, gleeful. So again, I'm going to write the girl, and actually I think I might add in a bit of description, whose name was, I need another g, whose name was Gillian. The girl, whose name was Gillian. But that's a j instead of a g sound. So actually, this is what I meant by editing. A name beginning a g sound, Gail. The girl whose name was Gail, that's better. And I've that little section of the sentence there in commas because it's like I'm adding in a little bit of extra information. The girl whose name was Gail galloped gleefully on her. Now, I can't think of another noun that would start with g for horse, but I could use an adjective to describe the horse, beginning with g for more alliteration. The girl whose name was Gail galloped gleefully on her, I could say gigantic horse, maybe, gentle horse. It's still that just sound on her. I'm going to go for gentle. Even though I know it's not a gus sound, it still sounds quite similar. Still the j on her gentle horse. The girl, whose name was Gail, galloped gleefully on her gentle horse. Okay, so again, if you think of a better sentence than I have, then definitely take a moment now to think of your own sentence using alliteration. But now it is your turn. So I have got a picture of a very familiar character there for you, and I've given you some vocabulary words should you find this tricky. But if you want to use your own, absolutely do. So using the steps to success, can you think of a sentence using alliteration to describe what is happening in the picture? You can get really imaginative if you want. It doesn't have to be exactly what is happening in the picture, but you must use the character. So press pause now, have a go. You can say it out loud to yourself, you can write it down, but love to see your uploads on Seesaw to see the great ideas that you've come up with. Press play when you're ready for the next example. Okay, well done. Here is your second picture. So again, follow the steps to success. I've given you some vocabulary words should you find it tricky to think of some. It's still good practice for putting a sentence together using alliteration, but absolutely you can use your own. You can make up what the character is doing in that picture. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly what you see, but think about what you might, think about what this character might get up to. And remember to press play when you are ready to go on to the next section of our lesson. Okay, so now that we've really gone through what alliteration is, you've spotted alliteration and you've used your own, now we're going to put it into the context, so the purpose of using alliteration in persuasive text. So remember, persuasive texts are trying to get you to buy things. And the most common, so the most popular use of alliteration is used in brand names or slogans. And this is simply so that customers remember them easily. So I've got a few examples here of famous products that have used alliteration in their product names. So I've got Krispy Kreme donuts, Dunkin' Donuts, PayPal, Coca-Cola. So again, using the same sound in the word or phrase to make it stick in your head. A really great feature in persuasive text. So with that in mind, I have gone back to our teacher taming tonic. Again, alliteration in our brand name, and I want you to see if you can spot the alliteration in this section. This is the ingredient section. So take a moment now to pause the video and say it out loud to yourself anywhere where you can see alliteration. Press play when you're ready to go on to your task. Okay, so well done for spotting the alliteration. We have the remarkably responsive, and then we had sloth saliva. Sneakily subtle was alliteration. Also, like I mentioned before, teacher taming tonic. Now, your task is to design a list of ingredients for a brand new smoothie. Now, remember, we want this to sound appealing. We want people to buy it. So please use appropriate, appealing adjectives when you are describing your ingredients. I want to see that you use at least 5 ingredients. You don't have to write in full sentences, bullet points are fine, but you must use alliteration to make your ingredients sound appealing to whoever you want to sell to. Now, I'm going to leave that up to you. It could be a smoothie for adults, it could be a smoothie for young children, up to you. So here is my example. So for my ingredients, I have used deliciously delectable dates. So again, I have got rich and ripe raspberries as, two as's there, let's read that again. Rich and ripe raspberries as red as roses, so lots of r sounds in there. Really descriptive, I'm telling you how they taste and what they look like. So those are two examples that I have given you. When it comes to you writing your own smoothie ingredient list, think about things you could describe, because that will really give rise to your imagination. What colour are the ingredients? What shape? What smell? Where do the ingredients come from? What do they do? Why have they been put in there? This is really good practice for you to use alliteration, and I cannot wait to see what you guys all come up with. So well done as always, and I look forward to seeing all your uploads on Seesaw. Have a great day.